everyone, and welcome to Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin, and today I'll be discussing Summertime from 1955, starring Katharine Hepburn and directed by David Lean. Alright, some essential movie details about Summertime from 1955. Katharine Hepburn was more than impressed with her experience working with David Lean. She even asked to sit in on the editing sessions with him to watch him at work. Alright, and another detail. Reportedly, this is director Sir David Lean's personal favorite of his own movies. And then lastly, the number of tourists traveling to Venice doubled after this movie's release. Alright, so those are some behind the scenes details about this film. Now I'm getting to my thoughts on the plot. So the plot, I gave it a 2 out of 5. I thought it was a terrible plot. Once again, David Lean has made a film about a husband cheating on his wife and infidelity and all that. What is it with him? Like, this is probably the third or fourth film I've seen like this by him. Other than that, the film is honestly just a travelogue of Katharine Hepburn and different mini little stories that are happening along the way. It's not that much of a story, not that much of a plot, and it's not super interesting. I didn't think there was much chemistry between her and her love interest, and honestly, she had more chemistry between this old guy and the train at the very beginning of the film. And my wife and I talked about, wouldn't it be hilarious if it was a Spencer Tracy type character who's kind of jaded and he's like, oh, this place isn't that beautiful. And then she falls in love with that kind of a guy. I thought that would have been a much better story, a much better like a Tracy Hepburn film, But I don't know. I didn't like the chemistry, the romance. I didn't think it was there at all. It felt very rushed and very forced. It didn't feel real. So to me, it was a little too serious. And again, the romance wasn't there. And it's another story about infidelity. I don't know why he keeps making these movies. It's crazy. Now on to acting. I gave that a 3 out of 5. I thought Katharine was the best of the bunch. She did what she could with what she had, right? Yeah, I really like her as an actress. But to me, I wish we got to see more of her sense of humor because she has it. And to me, she seemed way too serious and seemed like she didn't know what to do, honestly. And then the kid actor, he was okay. He was a little bit annoying at sometimes. But the worst to me overall was the love interest. He's just overacting. He's too not compassionate, too passionate and all that. And I wanted a Spencer Tracy type guy to be there to, play off of her. Right. I thought that would have been much funnier, much more interesting. But to me, I just did not like her love interest. I thought he was a terrible actor. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that, but I wasn't the biggest fan. All right, so talking about directing, I give that a 3 out of 5. David Lean, he's slowly becoming one of my least favorite directors of the old Hollywood period, which is crazy because, I started out loving it. Like, I love Lawrence of Arabia. I even somewhat like Dr. Zhivago, but that story also has a bit of an infidelity storyline I'm not a huge fan of. But yeah, he's just slowly becoming my least favorite with just these weird stories and these weird plots. He's fantastic at setting up scenes and making things look beautiful. And I'll talk more about that in cinematography, but I don't know. Like, is he trying to admit to something? Like, what is it? It's like so many of his films are like this. It's like that Doofenshmirtz meme. If I had a nickel for every time there's a David Lean romance that's about an affair, I'd have, well, in my case, 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened 3 times. It's strange to me, right? I don't know. I don't know why he gravitated towards stories like this. I don't know why he kept making movies like this, but I digress. I'll get into it more in cinematography, but the film looks amazing and has his signature, feeling and whatnot to it, but I just didn't like the story. And even if the characters were well written and whatnot, much better written. I probably would have liked it a little bit more. They just seem so flat and not interested to me. So, yeah. All right, let's move on to cinematography and special effects. So, I gave that a 5 out of 5. This is the best part of the film. It's amazing. I mean, Italy, when they're in the old cafe or at the train station, I thought it looked beautiful. I could definitely see why Steven Spielberg was inspired to use Italy or Venice even in Last Crusade because it looks amazing. I definitely want to visit there. And that's kind of the feeling I got with this film is it's a great travel log film. It's a great film to watch if you're wanting to go to Italy, I guess. But it's not one if you're looking for a really in-depth story or great romance or anything like that. It's more of to see the visuals. And I thought that definitely was the highlight. All right, so talking about the music, I gave it a 3 out of 5. Thought it was okay. I wish we had more, that Italian on guitar type music. I wish there was more of that. There wasn't a whole lot. And I wish we had more. That's pretty much it. It wasn't terrible what was there. I just wish there was more of it because to me, so many of the scenes were kind of flat and boring and needed something like music to help elevate it a bit. And there just wasn't much. All right, so tallying that all up, that brings my Letterboxd score to a 3.2 out of 5, which I'm rounding to a 3 out of 5. So would I recommend this movie? No. I would say stick to Lawrence of Arabia and Dr. Zhivago. That one's kind of a little bit of it's another one of those affair movies, but there's also the Russian Revolution and whatnot that I think is an interesting story in World War One to help distract too, right? But definitely stick with Lawrence of Arabia. I really love that film. That was a fantastic film. That's the only one I can recommend to you guys out of all of his films, really. I don't like a lot of his other ones. Which is sad because, he's one of those that everyone talks about as one of the best of all time and whatnot. But to me, I only like one of his films, and I think I've seen 5 or 6 now. So maybe I'll find another one that's great. I know he's done, I think it was Great Expectations or one of those other films. I'm going to keep trying. I want to like David Lean. I really do because everyone recommends him. So I'm going to keep trying. But other than Lawrence of Arabia and pretty much Dr. Zhivago, I haven't really gotten into any of his films. All right. Well, those are my thoughts overall on Summertime from 1955. Thank you so much for watching and listening to today's episode. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Really Old Movies, where I discuss details about the week's particular film. New podcast episodes are released Saturdays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music, and video versions on YouTube and Rumble Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, thank you so much. This has been Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin. Take care.